Texas is now ours. Her star and her stripe may already be said to have taken their place in the glorious blazon of our common nationality. And the sweep of our eagle's wings already includes within its circuit the wide extent of her fair and fertile land. She is no longer to us a mere geographical space, a certain combination of coast, plain, mountain, valley, forest, and stream. She is no longer to us a mere country on the map. She comes within the dear and sacred designation of our country. Other nations have undertaken to intrude themselves, in a spirit of hostile interference against us, for the avowed object of thwarting our policy and hampering our power, limiting our greatness and checking the fulfillment of our manifest destiny to overspread the continent allotted by Providence for the free development of our yearly multiplying millions. This we have seen done by England, our old rival and enemy, and by France, strangely coupled with her against us. John O'Sullivan, 1845. Since colonial times, Americans always felt the need to push west. For most, the political, social, and economic freedoms the West could offer was the ideal form of democracy. There were many factors that went into American expansion from sea to shining sea, and many ways in which the United States acquired land, but all were fueled by the notion of manifest destiny. John O'Sullivan's term in 1845 indicates the Americans have been allotted providence, meaning that God is the driving influence behind Americans spreading over the continent. This will give Americans the sense of duty to spread their political, social, and economic ideology across the land. Furthermore, this will also drive Americans to stop at nothing in fulfilling their destiny. There were many factors that led the United States to expand westward. Besides it being in our DNA, America is still in the midst of a social revival, the Second Great Awakening, and an economic transition, or the market revolution. As a result, we see the need for mineral and natural resources increase, coupled with a sense of nationalism and advancements in transportation technology, and you have the perfect prescription to see a country on the move. The United States acquired territories in a variety of ways. We see the United States purchase land, such as the Louisiana Territory in 1803, and the Gadsden Purchase in 1853. The Gadsden Purchase saw the economic and transportation influence as the U.S. wanted to complete the southern leg of the Transcontinental Railroad. In addition to purchasing, the United States also sought diplomatic resolutions to acquiring territory and settling land disputes. The Oregon Territory was divided between the United States and Great Britain upon the election of 1844. James K. Polk had backed off his campaign slogan of 54-40 or fight, meaning that the Oregon boundary would have been further north into present-day British Columbia. Diplomatically, the U.S. and Great Britain settled on the 49th parallel, the present-day border between the United States and Canada. The quest for Texas to be annexed, added on, would finally be passed through Congress in 1845 when outgoing President John Tyler opted for a joint resolution of Congress rather than Senate approval to finally allow the addition of Texas. Furthermore, the threat of a Texas Republic allied with the British never sat right with the United States. The question over Texas annexation had been debated during both the Jackson and Van Buren administrations, but both presidents balked at the idea because of the issues it would bring with Mexico. They were right. Hostilities between the United States and Mexico broke out in 1845 when President Polk dispatched an envoy to Mexico to negotiate the possible purchase of California and New Mexico from the Republic, as well as to negotiate a border dispute between the Texas border and the Mexican border. In the end, the Mexican government refused to sell California, and they also recognized the Nueces River as the border. not the Rio Grande River that the United States recognized as the border, some 90 miles south of the Nueces. While the U.S. was waiting for the response from Mexico City on the border dispute, President Polk sent in old Rough and Ready's Zachary Taylor, who had Whig leanings, more on that later, to move his army to the Rio Grande, knowing this would provoke conflict, and Polk was a staunch expansionist. In April of 1846, Mexican forces crossed the Rio Grande and captured the army patrol and killed 11 Americans. But through present on the Mexican soil by agreement between the two governments, invested with full powers and bearing evidence of the most friendly dispositions, his missions has been unveiling. The Mexican government not only refused to receive him or listen to his propositions, but after a long, continued series of menaces have at last invaded our territory and shed blood of our fellow citizens on our own soil. James K. Polk. While most U.S. politicians supported the war did see its opposition. One of the most outspoken opponents was Abraham Lincoln, a young congressman from the state of Illinois who had been elected several months after the official declaration of war. Lincoln, like many others who spoke out against the war, considered it a plot to expand slavery should the United States government acquire new territories as a result of Mexican defeat. After roughly 2 years of fighting, the Mexican War ended with the American victory and the signing of Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. The treaty stipulated that Mexico would cede territories to the United States. The United States also paid Mexico $15 million in consideration of the extension acquired by the boundaries of the United States. With the United States achieving its goal of manifest destiny, the territory of California became the prize, and settlers will soon flock to the territory for gold fever. Gold was found in the hills of California in 1848, and in 1849, the 49ers, yes, the football team is named after them, flocked to California to get rich quick. But while the people panning for the gold, the riches were few and far between. Those who benefited from the rush were the entrepreneurs going to the territory for land speculation and the selling of dry goods. With the explosion of the California population, by 1850 it met the requirements to apply for statehood. In the end, Manifest Destiny would become the laboratory of the experimentation of the new American identity that brought together the ideals of political democratization, the Second Great Awakening, and the market revolution. What we need to think about moving forward: was Lincoln right in his concerns over expansion? What about the Native American groups that are living in that region? These questions and more to come.